Welcome, dear friend, to Ocean of Mind. Tonight, you embark upon a profound journey inward, a gentle voyage across the vast, tranquil waters of your own being. Here, in this sacred space, you will discover timeless wisdom, secrets that have guided seekers for centuries, to quiet the restless currents of the mind and find a deep, restorative peace. I will share with you a series of remarkable Zen and Buddhist tales, each one a gentle lantern, illuminating a path to profound calm. These stories carry the wisdom of ages, told softly, deliberately, to help guide you into a state of deep relaxation and effortless sleep. Perhaps your mind is racing tonight, or worries cling like pebbles in your heart. Perhaps you've tried to find stillness before without success. Know that these teachings work, even if you've never meditated a day in your life. Even if thoughts seem to spin endlessly. Even if you believe true rest is beyond your reach. The Buddha once taught, peace comes from within. Do not seek it without. In the hours to come, as we journey through tales of awakened perception, unconditional compassion, and the silent wisdom of nature, you will begin to feel what this truly means. You'll notice something remarkable unfolding within you. Your tension will gently begin to dissolve. The incessant chatter of your mind will gradually slow, like ripples softening on a placid lake, and you will find yourself naturally, effortlessly, sinking into a state of profound relaxation. So make yourself exquisitely comfortable now. Adjust your pillow, allowing your head to feel fully supported. Let your body become heavy against the bed or chair, surrendering its weight completely. Take one deep, cleansing breath with me now. And as you exhale, release all that no longer serves you. Know that you have just taken the first step on a journey that has been waiting for you since the beginning of time. Let us begin with our first story. This is the story of the finger pointing at the moon. In ancient China, a young, eager student approached his Zen master, his mind overflowing with questions. He sought to understand the ultimate truth, the deepest nature of reality, the very essence of enlightenment. "Master," the student implored, "please teach me the true meaning of Zen. Show me the way to profound understanding." The master listened patiently, his gaze soft, his wisdom profound. He then raised his hand and slowly, deliberately, pointed his finger towards the full moon hanging in the night sky. "Look, my son," The master said gently, "There is the moon." The student, earnest and attentive, immediately focused intensely on the master's finger. He examined its shape, its texture, the way the moonlight illuminated its tip. He studied it from every angle, convinced that the secret lay within the finger itself. He pondered the meaning of the finger, its symbolism, its form. He considered its connection to the hand, to the arm, trying to extract the ultimate truth from this small gesture. After a long silence, the master lowered his hand, a subtle smile playing on his lips. "Tell me, my son," he asked, "what have you understood?" The student, still deeply engrossed in his analysis of the finger, began to explain all he had observed, all the profound meanings he had extrapolated from its form and posture. The master nodded, listening patiently. Then he sighed gently. "My dear student," he said, his voice tinged with compassion, "I was pointing to the moon. You are looking at my finger." The student's eyes widened. He looked up, beyond the master's hand, and for the first time, he truly saw the magnificent, radiant moon. All his complex theories about the finger dissolved instantly. The vast, clear beauty of the moon filled his perception. And in that moment, a glimpse of the true, simple wisdom dawned within him. The timeless teaching of the finger pointing at the moon reveals a profound truth at the heart of Zen and Buddhist wisdom. Our minds often become entangled in the concepts, the words, the doctrines, the very tools that are meant to guide us. Rather than perceiving the ultimate reality they point towards, we grasp at the finger, the teachings, the rituals, the intellectual understanding, and in doing so, we miss the moon itself, the direct, unmediated experience of truth, of peace, of awakening. The Buddha emphasized this beautifully, saying, "Do not believe anything, no matter where you read it, or who said it, no matter if I have said it, unless it agrees with your own reason and your own common sense." This isn't an invitation to dismiss guidance, but a profound call to direct experience. The words, the scriptures, the meditations, they are merely fingers. They are meant to direct your gaze, to shift your attention from the clinging of your mind to the expansive, clear reality that lies beyond concepts. In our daily lives, how often do we mistake the finger for the moon? Perhaps we cling to a belief about peace, rather than simply being peaceful. We might analyze anger, rather than simply observing its arising and passing without judgment. We might endlessly plan for happiness, instead of noticing the simple, quiet joy available in this very moment. The mind, in its desire to understand and categorize, creates labels, ideas, and frameworks for everything. And these frameworks, while useful, can become prisons. They become the finger we cling to, preventing us from seeing the open sky, the boundless moon that has always been there, beyond all definitions. Zen practice consistently brings us back to this direct seeing. It encourages us to drop the incessant commentary, the analysis, the comparisons, and simply perceive what is. To touch the moment directly, without the filter of our preconceived notions. This is not about denying thought, but about recognizing its place. Thoughts are tools, maps, fingers. They are not the territory itself. The territory is the direct, vibrant, ever-present reality that we can only truly know through unmediated awareness. As the Buddha taught, the way is not in the sky. The way is in the heart. The ultimate truth isn't found in abstract concepts, but in the direct, pure experience of being. Tonight, as you prepare for rest, notice if your mind is clinging to any fingers, any ideas, any plans, any worries, any stories about yourself or others. Can you gently allow them to be just fingers, pointing towards a deeper stillness? Can you shift your gaze beyond the mental noise, beyond the day's events, to the vast, open space of awareness that holds it all? The moon of your true nature is always shining, always present. Now, as your mind feels a touch more at ease, let us journey to another time, another place, to discover a new facet of peace. Through our next tale, this is the story of the river and the raft. Once, a traveler found himself on the bank of a wide, treacherous river. The current was swift, the water deep, and there was no bridge. The traveler desperately wished to cross to the other side, where green pastures and safe pathways beckoned. He gathered branches, reeds, and vines, and with great effort and skill, he constructed a sturdy raft. With the raft, he bravely pushed off into the swift current, battling the strong flow. And after much exertion, he safely reached the far bank. Grateful for his creation, the traveler thought, "This raft has served me well. It carried me safely across the perilous river. I cannot simply abandon it here." So, he hoisted the heavy raft onto his shoulders, intending to carry it with him on his journey, even though the path ahead was now dry land, winding through fields and forests. As he walked, burdened by the weight of the raft, He found it increasingly difficult to move. His steps became slow and labored. His shoulders ached, and his pace was severely hindered. Other travelers passed him by, lightly unencumbered, their steps swift and free. They looked at him with puzzled expressions, wondering why he carried such a heavy, unnecessary burden. The traveler soon realized that the very thing that had saved him, that had been so essential for crossing the river, was now preventing him from continuing his journey with ease. He looked at the peaceful path ahead, then at the heavy raft on his shoulders. With a deep sigh, he gently lowered the raft to the ground, leaving it by the river's edge, a monument to its past usefulness. Light and free, he continued on his way, his steps now swift and joyful, ready to embrace the new landscapes that awaited him. The parable of the river and the raft holds a profound truth. At the very core of Zen and Buddhist practice, the teachings, the practices, even our very concepts of enlightenment, are merely tools. They are the raft that carries us across the river of suffering. Once we have crossed, once they have served their purpose in guiding us, we must be willing to lay them down. To cling to them, to carry them as a burden, is to prevent ourselves from experiencing true freedom. The Buddha himself emphasized this point, saying, "The Dharma, his teachings, is like a raft which is for crossing over, not for grasping." He understood that even his most sacred teachings, if clung to rigidly, could become obstacles to direct experience. The ultimate truth transcends all concepts, all words, all systems. In our daily lives, how often do we carry unnecessary rafts? Perhaps we cling to old beliefs about ourselves, even when they no longer serve us. I am a shy person. I am not good at this. This is just how I am. These rafts might have once provided a sense of identity or safety, but now they burden our journey toward growth. We might cling to past successes or failures, constantly replaying them, identifying with them, even when the river of that experience has long been crossed. The diploma, the past relationship, the old wound. If we carry these as our identity, they become a heavy raft on dry land. Even spiritual practices themselves can become rafts we cling to. A particular meditation technique, a specific ritual, a rigid understanding of a teaching, while profoundly useful for crossing, if we become attached to the form of the practice, rather than the insight it reveals, we miss the true essence of liberation. Zen Master Shunryu Suzuki taught, In the beginner's mind, there are many possibilities, but in the expert's mind, there are few. The beginner's mind is willing to lay down the raft, to be open to new understanding beyond rigid concepts. The expert's mind, clinging to its knowledge, might be too burdened to see the fresh truth of the moment. This wisdom invites us to cultivate a radical openness, a willingness to release even what has been valuable, when it no longer serves our journey towards deeper freedom. It's about trusting that the path ahead will reveal itself once we lighten our load. Tonight, as you prepare for rest, reflect on any rafts you might still be carrying. Are there old beliefs, past achievements or regrets, or even cherished ideas that are now weighing you down? Can you gently acknowledge their past usefulness? Thank them, and then, with tenderness, lay them down by the river's edge. Allow yourself the lightness that comes from letting go, trusting that true peace is found not in what you hold onto, but in the spacious freedom of an unburdened mind. As your mind settles deeper into this tranquil space, let us now explore a question that has baffled minds for centuries, guiding us towards a deeper understanding of silence and true nature. This is the story of the sound of one hand clapping. In the quiet solitude of a mountain monastery, a young novice monk approached the great Zen master, Hakuin. The novice had diligently practiced meditation, studied the scriptures, and engaged in deep contemplation. But he felt something essential was still missing. He sought to understand the very essence of Zen, the truth that lies beyond words and concepts. "Master," the novice asked respectfully, "what is the sound of two hands clapping?" The master smiled gently and clapped his hands together once, producing a clear, resonant sound. "That," said Hakuin, "is the sound of two hands clapping. Now, my son," he continued, his eyes twinkling with wisdom, "show me the sound of one hand clapping." The novice was puzzled. He sat in deep contemplation, trying to comprehend the master's koan. This paradoxical question, designed to break the mind's ordinary patterns. He tried to imagine it. He thought of striking one hand against his thigh, or tapping it gently on the floor. But these were still sounds caused by two things interacting. He meditated for hours, for days, seeking the sound of one hand in his thoughts. He listened to the wind, to the birds, to the flowing water, trying to find a sound that arose from a single, isolated source. Frustrated, he returned to Hakuin. "Master, I cannot find it. I have tried everything." Hakuin simply smiled and invited the novice to sit in silent meditation. Listen, he urged, not with your ears but with your mind. Listen beyond sound. Listen to the silence. The novice sat and listened, letting go of all his attempts to find a sound, letting go of all his thoughts about the sound. As his mind quieted, as his expectations dissolved, he began to perceive something profound. Not a sound, but the vast, resonant space before sound, the very source of all experience. In that moment of pure, open awareness, without the clutter of thought or the striving for an answer, he understood. The sound of one hand clapping was not a sound at all, but the profound stillness, the ultimate silence, that exists when the duality of thought, the separation of two, dissolves into unified, unburdened presence. The famous koan, "What is the sound of one hand clapping?" is not a riddle to be solved by intellect, but a doorway to direct experience. A profound teaching on transcending duality and conceptual thought. It pushes us beyond the limitations of our ordinary perception, where we are accustomed to sounds requiring two things to meet, and invites us into a realm where wisdom arises from silence, from a unified and undivided mind. The Buddha taught, to understand everything is to forgive everything. And to truly understand, we must move beyond the dualistic mind that categorizes, separates, and judges. Our minds are constantly creating two hands clapping. Day and night, good and bad, self and other, past and future. We seek answers, we seek understanding, but often within the very frameworks of duality that keep us bound. The sound of one hand clapping is a metaphor for the non-dual reality, the ultimate truth that exists before our minds divide the world into separate parts. It's the experience of pure awareness, prior to labeling, prior to judgment, prior to analysis. In our daily lives, we are often caught in the sound of two hands clapping. We listen to conversations with a mind already forming a response. We look at situations with preconceived notions of right and wrong. We encounter people with stories we've already written about them. We are listening to the clash, the duality, and missing the profound, underlying silence that encompasses all. This koan invites us to listen differently, to listen not just with our physical ears, but with the vast, open space of our awareness, to listen for what is not being said, to perceive what is not being explicitly presented. It is in the moments of true stillness, when our mental chatter subsides, when we let go of our need for an answer, that the sound of one hand clapping reveals itself. It is the profound peace that arises when the mind stops trying to categorize and grasp, and simply is. As the Zen master Suzuki Roshi said, "Strictly speaking, there are no words, not even Buddha's words. They are just fingers pointing at the moon. The koan is another finger. It directs us not to a solution, but to a state of being. A state where the mind is clear, calm, and utterly present, beyond the needing of two to make a sound." Tonight, as you settle into deep rest, notice the sounds around you. The subtle hum of your home, the distant whispers of the night. Then, try to listen beyond them. Can you perceive the vast, quiet space that holds all sounds? Can you allow your mind to rest in that profound stillness, where the need for answers dissolves, and all duality fades into the unified peace of simply being? As you continue to find your stillness, let us now consider the wisdom of nature itself and how it teaches us about resilience. This is the story of the bamboo and the oak. In a vast forest, where ancient trees stood tall, there lived a mighty oak and a humble bamboo plant. The oak was proud of its strength, its thick trunk, its deep roots. It boasted to the bamboo, "I am strong. I stand firm against any storm. I will never bend." The bamboo, thin and seemingly fragile, listened quietly. It simply swayed gently in the breeze. One day, a powerful storm raged through the forest. The wind howled, and the rain lashed down with fury. The mighty oak stood firm, resisting the wind with all its strength. It refused to bend. It fought against the storm with every fiber of its being. But the force of the wind was relentless. With a thunderous crack, the great oak's trunk finally snapped. It crashed to the ground, defeated by the storm. The bamboo, however, simply bowed its slender stalks. It bent deeply with the wind, allowing the powerful gusts to pass over it. It swayed and yielded, never breaking, never resisting. When the storm finally passed, and the sun emerged once more, the bamboo slowly, gracefully straightened itself. It stood tall again, unharmed, unbroken. It had surrendered to the force, and in that surrender, it had found its strength. The simple story of the bamboo and the oak reveals a profound Zen teaching about resilience. It challenges our conventional idea of strength. and shows us that true power often lies not in rigid resistance, but in gentle flexibility. We often admire the oak, its unyielding nature, its steadfastness. We are taught to stand firm, to fight against adversity. But the oak's strength became its undoing. The bamboo, seemingly weak, understood the wisdom of yielding. It moved with the force. It adapted to the pressure. And in doing so, it endured. The Buddha taught, the secret of health for both mind and body is not to mourn for the past, worry about the future, or anticipate troubles, but to live in the present moment wisely and earnestly. This teaching is about being like the bamboo, not clinging rigidly to how things should be or how we wish them to be, but embracing what is. In our daily lives, we face many storms. These can be external challenges, like unexpected changes or difficult conversations, or internal storms, like strong emotions or persistent worries. Our natural tendency, like the oak, is often to resist, to fight against what is happening. We clench our minds. We tighten our bodies. We become rigid in our thoughts. But this resistance, this refusal to bend, often leads to snapping, to burnout, to increased suffering. Zen practice invites us to learn from the bamboo, to cultivate flexibility of mind, to acknowledge the force of the wind, but to allow ourselves to bend with it. This doesn't mean we are weak or that we give up. Instead, it means we release our grip on control. We let go of the need for things to be different, and we find a deeper strength in adaptation. When difficult emotions arise, like fear or frustration, can we be like the bamboo and allow them to pass through us, rather than resisting them and allowing them to break us? When plans change, can we flow with the new current, rather than battling against the old map? The Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh taught, no mud, no lotus. The lotus, a symbol of purity and enlightenment, grows from the mud. It is in the very act of engaging with the challenges, without rigid resistance, that our true strength and beauty emerge. Tonight, as you lie down to rest, reflect on any areas in your life where you might be like the oak, clinging rigidly, resisting the flow. Can you gently soften your mind and become like the bamboo, allowing yourself to bend with whatever arises, trusting that in this gentle yielding, you will find an unbroken resilience? Let the winds of worry pass over you, and rest in the quiet strength that is always within you. As your awareness expands in this quiet space, let us now consider the nature of receptivity and the wisdom of making room for new understanding. This is the story of the empty cup. A university professor, full of intellectual pride and vast knowledge, traveled a great distance to meet a renowned Zen master. He sought to learn about Zen and to showcase his own impressive understanding of philosophy and spiritual texts. Upon arriving, the professor immediately began to explain his own theories, his interpretations of various scriptures, and his numerous accomplishments in academic debate. He talked without pause, eager to impress the master with his erudition. The master listened patiently, a calm presence in the room. Eventually, the master suggested they have tea. He began to pour tea into the professor's cup. He poured slowly and steadily, but to the professor's astonishment, the master did not stop pouring when the cup was full. The tea continued to flow, overflowing the cup and spilling onto the saucer, then onto the table. "Stop, master, stop," cried the professor. "The cup is overflowing. No more will go in." The master paused, holding the teapot steady. He looked at the professor with gentle eyes. "Indeed," the master said calmly, "like this cup, you are full of your own opinions and speculations. How can I teach you Zen unless you first empty your cup?" In that moment, the professor understood. The wisdom he sought could not enter his mind until he was willing to let go of what he already thought he knew. He put down his metaphorical burdens of knowledge and pride, and for the first time, opened himself to true learning. The parable of the empty cup is a fundamental Zen teaching about the importance of an open mind and the humility required for true learning and growth. It illustrates that when our minds are already full, clinging to preconceived notions, past experiences, or even our own cleverness, there is no room for new wisdom to enter. The Buddha taught, "You only lose what you cling to." Our full cup often represents our attachments to our opinions, our identities, our past stories, and our sense of being right. These attachments, while seemingly providing security, actually prevent us from receiving new truths. To approach life with an empty cup is to cultivate what Zen calls beginner's mind, or shashin in Japanese. Beginner's mind is a state of open curiosity, without expectations, without judgment, like a child encountering something for the very first time. It means approaching every situation, every conversation, every moment, as if you know nothing and are entirely ready to learn. In our daily lives, how often do we encounter situations with a full cup? We listen to others, but we are already formulating our rebuttal. We face a new challenge, but our mind is crowded with past failures or successes. We seek solutions, but we only look within the confines of what we already understand. This closedness prevents creativity. It prevents genuine connection. And it prevents us from seeing possibilities that lie beyond our current framework. Zen practice constantly invites us to empty our cup. Through mindfulness, we can observe the thoughts and judgments that fill our minds. We can notice our resistance to new ideas, or our pride in what we already know. And then, with gentle awareness, we can choose to let go, to create space, to become receptive. When the cup is empty, when the mind is cleared of its clutter, it becomes like a clear mirror, reflecting reality as it is. Without distortion, it becomes infinitely capable of receiving. The Zen master, Shunryu Suzuki, wisely said, "In the beginner's mind, there are many possibilities. But in the expert's mind, there are few. The true expert, the true learner, is one who always maintains the beginner's mind, always ready to empty their cup and be filled anew." Tonight, as you settle into a deep and restful sleep, reflect on any areas where your cup might feel full. Are you clinging to old ideas or rigid ways of seeing the world? Can you visualize gently pouring out all that you no longer need to hold onto? All the opinions, all the expectations, all the mental clutter. Allow your mind to become spacious and empty, like a perfectly still and clear cup, ready to receive the deep peace and fresh insights that true emptiness can bring. As your breath deepens and your body softens, let us now consider the beauty found in imperfection and the unique purpose of every being. This is the story of the cracked pot. In a faraway village, a wise old water carrier had two large pots. He carried them, suspended from a pole across his shoulders. One of the pots was perfect, flawless, without a single crack. It always delivered a full measure of water from the stream to the house. The other pot, however, had a small crack, a tiny flaw that caused it to leak part of its contents. By the time it reached the house, it was always only half full. For 2 full years, the water carrier made his daily journey. He brought 1.5 pots of water to the house. The perfect pot was proud of its accomplishments, flawless and complete. But the cracked pot felt deeply ashamed. It felt inferior. It knew it was only able to deliver half of its potential. It felt like a failure. One day, filled with sorrow, the cracked pot spoke to the water carrier. "Master," it said, "I am so ashamed. My crack causes water to leak out all the way back to the house. I am only half as useful as the other pot." The wise old carrier listened patiently, his eyes full of compassion. He smiled gently and replied, "Did you not notice the beautiful flowers along the path? On your side only, pot. I have always known about your crack." He continued, "And I purposely planted flower seeds on your side of the path. Every day, as we walk back from the stream, you have watered them. Because of you, I have been able to pick these beautiful flowers to decorate the Master's table. Without you, they would not have grown." The cracked pot looked along the path, and indeed, its side was abundant with vibrant, fragrant flowers, while the other side remained barren. In that moment, the cracked pot understood. Its perceived flaw was not a weakness, but a unique gift. It realized its purpose. Its beauty lay precisely in its imperfection. The beautiful parable of the cracked pot offers a profound teaching on acceptance, self-compassion, and the wisdom of seeing perfection in imperfection. In a world that often demands flawlessness and constantly compares us to others, this story reminds us that our perceived flaws, our unique cracks, are often precisely where our true gifts lie. The perfect pot, in its striving for absolute efficiency, missed the opportunity to nurture beauty. The cracked pot, in its perceived failure, unwittingly brought life and color to the world. The Buddha taught, "You yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your love and affection." This teaching is about extending that love and affection, especially to those parts of ourselves we deem imperfect or unworthy. We often carry a cracked pot within us, a perceived flaw, a past mistake, a recurring challenge. And like the pot, We feel shame. We feel inadequate. We focus only on what we think is missing or broken. But from a Zen perspective, these very cracks are what make us unique. They teach us compassion. They allow us to connect with others' vulnerabilities. And they often become the source of our deepest wisdom and strength. Imagine the water carrier as life itself, or the universe, or your own inner wisdom. It sees the full picture. It knows the hidden purpose of your unique path. It sees the flowers growing from your very imperfections. Zen practice cultivates radical acceptance. It's about observing ourselves as we are. The good, the challenging, the perceived flaws, and meeting it all with kindness and understanding. It's about releasing the constant striving for an imagined perfection and finding wholeness right here, right now, in our beautiful, authentic, and sometimes cracked selves. The Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh taught, "No mud, no lotus." In the same way, no cracks, no unique flowers. Tonight, as you prepare for deep, healing rest, reflect on any cracks within you, any areas where you feel less than perfect, less than whole. Can you look at them with the same compassionate eyes as the water carrier? Can you see the unique beauty that might be growing? Precisely because of those imperfections, allow yourself to release any shame, any judgment, and embrace your whole self, perfectly imperfect, uniquely purposeful, resting in the complete acceptance of who you are. As your thoughts continue to quiet, let us now consider the simplicity of true wisdom, found in the most ordinary moments of life. This is the story of chop wood, carry water. There once was a young man who felt a deep yearning for spiritual enlightenment. He left his home and his family to seek a wise Zen master in a remote mountain monastery. Upon arriving, he bowed deeply before the master and asked, "Master, I have come seeking the path to enlightenment. What must I do to achieve it?" The master looked at him with kind eyes and replied simply, "Before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water." The young man was surprised. He had expected profound teachings or complex meditations, not such mundane tasks. Nevertheless, he dedicated himself to these chores. Day after day, he chopped wood for the monastery's fires and carried water from the well to the kitchen. He performed these tasks mindfully, but still he yearned for the mystical experience of awakening. Years passed. The young man continued his diligent work. His muscles grew strong. His mind grew more settled. He no longer questioned the master's instructions. He simply chopped wood and carried water. One day, as he was carrying a heavy bucket of water, he suddenly felt a profound shift within him. A deep sense of peace and an inner clarity washed over his being. He looked at the water in his buckets, at the path beneath his feet, at the trees around him, and everything seemed to shine with a new, radiant truth. He rushed back to the master, his heart overflowing. "Master," he exclaimed, "I believe I have found enlightenment." The master smiled serenely and again replied, "After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water." The young man now understood. The tasks themselves had not changed, but his relationship to them and to life itself had been utterly transformed. The simple yet profound teaching of chop wood, carry water, is a cornerstone of Zen Buddhism. It dismantles the illusion that enlightenment, or true peace, is a distant, mystical state, separate from our everyday lives. It teaches us that spiritual awakening is not about escaping the mundane, but about transforming our relationship to it. It is about finding the sacred, the profound truth, within every ordinary action. The Buddha taught, the secret of health for both mind and body is not to mourn for the past, worry about the future, or anticipate troubles, but to live in the present moment wisely and earnestly. This teaching finds its perfect expression in chop wood, carry water. It calls us to bring our full attention, our complete presence, to the tasks right in front of us, no matter how simple or repetitive they may seem. In our busy modern lives, we often rush through tasks, our minds already on the next thing. We see chores as obstacles or necessary evils, something to get through. We wait for a special moment to be happy, or for grand achievements to feel fulfilled. We are constantly looking for the after enlightenment experience, when we are still in the before enlightenment stage of daily tasks. This constant striving, this mental jumping to the future, prevents us from truly inhabiting the present moment, which is the only place peace truly resides. Zen practice emphasizes mindfulness in all actions. When you wash the dishes, just wash the dishes. When you walk, just walk. When you eat, just eat. This is not about being robotic, but about dissolving the separation between the doer and the doing, between the sacred and the mundane. When we chop wood and carry water, with full, unburdened presence, the act itself becomes a meditation. The wood, the water, the path, all reveal their inherent beauty and truth. It is in this mindful engagement with the ordinary that extraordinary peace is found. It is here that enlightenment unfolds, not as an external event, but as an inner transformation of perception. Tonight, as you prepare for deep, restorative sleep, reflect on your daily tasks, the small, repetitive actions you perform. Can you bring a newfound presence to them tomorrow? Can you find the meditation in brushing your teeth, the peace in preparing a simple meal, the stillness in walking to your bed? Allow the wisdom of chop wood, carry water, to remind you that true peace is not a destination, but a way of being, found in the quiet dignity of simply being present. As your stillness deepens with each breath, let us now consider the boundless nature of generosity and the peace that transcends all loss. This is the story of the monk and the robber. There once was an old Zen master who lived a simple life in a small, remote hut. He owned very little, possessing only the bare necessities for his practice. One evening, while meditating peacefully, he heard a noise. A robber had broken into his hut, searching for valuables. The master simply continued his meditation, observing the robber's frantic movements. The robber, however, found nothing of value. His frustration grew. The master, seeing the robber about to leave empty-handed, thought to himself, "I have walked a long way to visit him, and I cannot send him away without a gift." So the master took off his simple outer robe, his only possession of any slight worth, and placed it gently by the door. "Hey," he called out softly to the robber, "don't you want this? It's cold, and you shouldn't go away empty-handed." The robber was startled. He quickly grabbed the robe and fled into the night. The master looked up at the moon, shining brightly in the sky. He sat back down and continued his meditation. He mused aloud, "Poor fellow, I wish I could have given him the moon." Days later, the robber, having been caught for other crimes, was sent to prison. Years passed. Upon his release, he had transformed. The memory of the monk's radical generosity His pure, unattached kindness had stayed with him through all those years. He returned to the monk's hut, not as a robber, but as a humble seeker. He realized the monk had given him something far more precious than a robe. He had given him a glimpse of true freedom, a peace that cannot be stolen. The powerful story of the monk and the robber illustrates the profound Zen teaching of non-attachment and the limitless nature of compassion that arises from it. The monk's act was not one of fear or even a calculated generosity. It was a spontaneous overflow of a heart, utterly unburdened by clinging to possessions or by the fear of loss. He saw the robber not as an enemy, but as a fellow being, and acted from a place of pure, unconditional giving. The Buddha taught, "Give, even if you only have a little." This teaching extends far beyond material possessions. It encourages us to let go of our attachment to outcomes, to our own sense of self-importance, to our ideas of how things should be, and even to our own peace. In our daily lives, we often cling tightly to things, to our opinions, to our status, to our comfort zones, to our sense of being right. When these things are threatened or taken from us, we experience immense suffering. Like the robber, we are desperate, constantly seeking to acquire, to hold on to protect. But the monk shows us another way. He demonstrates that true wealth, true peace, is an inner state. It is found not in what we possess, but in our freedom from the need to possess. His wish to give the robber the moon is a beautiful metaphor for offering inner peace itself, a peace that cannot be physically stolen, a peace that is always available. When we release our grip on external conditions, Zen practice cultivates detachment, not as indifference, but as liberation. It is seeing that nothing external can truly complete us or truly harm our fundamental peace. By recognizing the impermanent nature of all things, we can hold them lightly, appreciate them when they are present, and let them go without struggle when they depart. This understanding allows us to be generous, not just with what we have, but with our attention, our compassion, our forgiveness, and our very presence. As the Zen master Ikkyu taught, if you are true to yourself, you have nothing to fear. Tonight, as you settle into deep and restful sleep, reflect on anything you might be clinging to. Perhaps a worry, a grievance, a desire, Can you gently release your grip on these inner and outer possessions? Can you experience the profound freedom that comes from realizing you have nothing to lose? Rest in the boundless peace that resides within you, a peace that no external circumstance, no robber, can ever take away. As you drift deeper into stillness, let us now listen to the profound wisdom that can be found in a single sound and the silence that holds it. This is the story of the bell of emptiness. In a secluded Zen monastery, there was an old, magnificent temple bell. Its chime was renowned for its depth, its purity, and its ability to resonate long and beautifully. A young monk was assigned the task of ringing the bell each morning, and each evening he was diligent in his duty. But he felt something was missing. His heart was not fully in it. He simply saw it as a chore. He often felt rushed, his mind distracted by other tasks, or by his own thoughts. His ringing of the bell reflected this. It was loud and clear, but lacked true resonance. One day, the abbot, the wise old master of the monastery, noticed the young monk's hurried approach to the bell. He called the young monk to him and said gently, "My son, when you ring the bell, you must become one with the bell." The young monk was puzzled. He nodded, but did not truly understand. He continued his duty, but still felt a disconnect. A few weeks later, the abbot himself came to the bell tower. He picked up the wooden mallet, and slowly, mindfully, he struck the great bell. The sound that emerged was unlike any the young monk had ever heard. It was not merely loud. It was vast. It filled the entire monastery. It vibrated through the air, through the trees, through the very ground. The sound continued to resonate, softening slowly, growing more subtle, until it faded into an almost imperceptible silence that somehow felt even more profound than the sound itself. The abbot then handed the mallet to the young monk. "Now," he said softly, "ring it like that." The young monk was deeply moved by what he had witnessed. He understood. He closed his eyes. He breathed deeply. He let go of all his thoughts, all his hurry, all his sense of being separate from the task. He lifted the mallet, and when he struck the bell, he allowed his entire being to merge with the act. The sound that followed was still not as grand as the abbot's, but it was filled with presence. It resonated with a deeper truth. The young monk had become one with the bell, and in that unity, he found profound peace. The story of the bell of emptiness is a powerful metaphor for true mindfulness and the profound peace that arises when we bring our full, undivided attention to any moment or any task. The abbot's teaching, "Become one with the bell," is a call to dissolve the separation between ourselves and our experience. It is an invitation to inhabit the present moment so completely that the sense of a separate self fades, and all that remains is pure awareness. The Buddha taught, "The mind is everything. What you think you become." When our minds are distracted, rushing, or filled with judgment, our actions, even simple ones, lack resonance. They are mere movements. But when we bring our whole being to an act, it becomes imbued with life, with depth, with presence. In our daily lives, how often do we ring our own bells without being truly present? We listen to conversations, but our minds are elsewhere. We eat our meals, but we are planning the next day. We perform our work, but we are thinking of the weekend. This constant state of mental division prevents us from experiencing the richness of life. It keeps us from finding the profound peace that is always available in the now. Zen practice teaches us deep listening, not just with our ears, but with our entire being. It teaches us to listen to the sound of the bell, and then to listen to the silence that follows, to the vast space where sound arises and dissolves. This silence, this emptiness, is not a void. It is the ground of all being, the source of true peace and clarity. It is the very essence of the bell of emptiness. When we become one with the moment, when we let go of the mental noise, we tap into this boundless stillness. We realize that peace is not something we achieve, but something we uncover by simply being present. As the Zen master Dogen taught, to study the Buddha way is to study the self. To study the self is to forget the self. To forget the self is to be actualized by the myriad things. To be actualized by the myriad things is to become one with the bell, to find enlightenment in the very act of ringing it. Tonight, as you prepare for deep, restorative sleep, reflect on how you approach your moments. Are you fully present in your actions? Or are your thoughts always elsewhere? Can you allow yourself to merge with the simple act of breathing? Can you listen to the sounds of your environment? And then listen even deeper. to the silence that holds them all. Allow yourself to become one with this present moment, resting in the profound and resonant peace that is always available when you truly listen. As your journey inward draws toward its gentle close, let us absorb one last timeless teaching from the ever-changing tapestry of life. This is the story of the traveler and the old tree. In ancient times, a weary traveler journeyed across a vast, desolate plain. The sun beat down mercilessly, and there was no shelter to be found. After many hours, he spotted, far in the distance, a lone, ancient tree. It stood mighty and broad, its branches reaching wide, offering a promise of shade and rest. With renewed hope, the traveler pushed on. Finally, he reached the tree and collapsed gratefully beneath its vast canopy. The shade was cool and inviting. The air around the tree felt peaceful. He rested deeply, feeling profound gratitude for the tree's benevolent presence. As he prepared to continue his journey, he stood up, and before leaving, he turned to the tree and began to curse it. "You useless, stubborn tree," he exclaimed. "You stand here doing nothing. You take up so much space. You offer nothing but shade. You are simply in the way." The tree, ancient and wise, stirred its leaves gently in the breeze. It seemed to smile. It knew that the traveler, having enjoyed its shade, was now beginning to feel grateful. But the traveler's mind, in its usual way, was now creating a new story, a new reason to feel displeased. He wanted to justify leaving the shade, to motivate himself for the heat of the journey ahead. So he fabricated reasons to dislike the very thing that had just offered him solace. The tree understood the fleeting nature of human emotions and the mind's tendency to constantly shift from gratitude to complaint, from peace to restlessness. It offered no defense, no argument. It simply stood, unmoved by praise or blame, a steadfast reminder of its own true nature. The traveler, having vented his frustration, felt a fleeting moment of relief. Then, burdened by his own restless mind, he continued on his way, leaving the tree as it had always been, a silent giver, a steady presence, amidst the shifting sands of human perception. The story of the traveler and the old tree is a profound Zen teaching about the nature of our minds. and our tendency to attach and then detach from our experiences and perceptions. It reveals how quickly our appreciation can turn to aversion, our gratitude to complaint, when our restless minds seek new narratives or justify our next action. The tree symbolizes a deeper wisdom, a state of being that is stable, unmoved by the praise or criticism of the world. It simply is, offering its gifts unconditionally. The Buddha taught, the root of suffering is attachment. The traveler's mind, though it found temporary relief in the tree's shade, became restless. It attached to the comfort. Then it created a story of dissatisfaction to propel itself forward again. This constant push and pull, this oscillation between desire and aversion, is a fundamental cause of our unease. In our daily lives, we often behave like the traveler. We find comfort in a situation or a person. Then, without realizing it, we start to find flaws, to complain, to look for what's wrong. We might achieve a goal, feel happy for a moment, then immediately begin to seek the next achievement, devaluing what we just attained. This is the mind clinging to the idea of perfection, then pushing away anything that falls short. Zen practice invites us to cultivate an unmoved heart, a mind that can witness its own tendencies to praise and blame, to attach and detach, without being carried away by them. It teaches us to simply be with what is, to appreciate the moment for its inherent reality, without needing to create a story about it, or to judge its usefulness. Like the tree, we can learn to simply offer our presence, our being, without demanding anything in return, without being swayed by the opinions of others, or even by our own fleeting thoughts. The true strength lies not in finding the perfect circumstance, but in cultivating a mind that is at peace, regardless of circumstances. As the Zen master Bodhidharma taught, the enlightened person has no preferences, no attachments, no desires. Tonight, as you settle into a deep, peaceful sleep, reflect on any judgments or complaints that might linger from your day. Can you allow yourself to simply be, to rest without needing to approve or disapprove of the moment, to find a profound stillness within you that, like the ancient tree, remains unperturbed by the passing winds of thought? As your awareness deepens and your breath steadies, let us now discover the quiet contentment, found not in more, but in enough. This is the story of the master and the fisherman. Along a serene coast, a busy merchant observed a local fisherman resting by his small boat after catching only a few fish. The merchant approached him. "Why are you not out fishing?" he asked. "You have only caught a few fish." The fisherman calmly replied, "I have caught enough for my family's needs and to share with our friends." The merchant, puzzled, then advised, "You should fish for longer and catch many more fish." "What would I do then?" asked the fisherman. "You could sell the extra fish," said the merchant, "and then buy a bigger boat." "What would I do then?" repeated the fisherman. "With a bigger boat, you could catch even more fish and hire others to help you," explained the merchant. "Soon, you would have a fleet of boats and many workers." "And then?" asked the fisherman. "Then you could become very wealthy," said the merchant, his eyes gleaming with ambition. "You could move to the city, build a huge house, and live a life of luxury." "And then?" the fisherman asked again, his voice soft. "Then," the merchant concluded triumphantly, "you could retire. You could spend your days relaxing and enjoying your life." The fisherman looked at the merchant and then gestured around him. At his small boat, the calm sea, the setting sun, he smiled peacefully. "What do you think I am doing now?" he asked gently. The merchant stood in silence. His mind suddenly quieted. He understood. The fisherman already possessed the peace and contentment that the merchant was striving his whole life to attain. The story of the master and the fisherman is a profound Zen teaching about true abundance and the elusive nature of happiness. It challenges our society's relentless pursuit of more and points us toward the profound peace found in simply having enough. We are often caught in a cycle of striving, believing that our contentment lies just beyond the next achievement, the next possession, the next milestone. The merchant represents this endless striving, always focused on the future, on what could be, missing the richness of the present moment. The fisherman, by contrast, embodies a liberated mind. He has already realized the peace and freedom that the merchant hopes to gain after years of struggle. The Buddha taught, "Health is the greatest gift, contentment the greatest wealth, faithfulness the best relationship, This teaching directly speaks to the fisherman's wisdom. His wealth is not measured in possessions, but in his contentment, his presence, his ability to appreciate the simple sufficiency of his life. In our daily lives, we often find ourselves on the merchant's path. We work harder. We acquire more. We chase external validation, always hoping that these things will finally bring us lasting happiness. But true peace, true fulfillment, is not an external destination. It is an inner state of being, available right here, right now, when we choose to recognize the abundance that already exists. Zen practice encourages us to cultivate mindfulness of enough, to pause, to look at our lives, and to genuinely appreciate what we have, rather than constantly focusing on what we lack. This is not about complacency, but about cultivating a peaceful mind, a mind that is not perpetually driven by desire or burdened by the fear of not having enough. When we taste the sweetness of sufficiency, the endless pursuit of more naturally subsides. The mind finds rest, and a deep calm settles within us. As the Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh taught, when you practice walking meditation, you are fully present. With each step, you can touch peace. The fisherman was living this walking meditation. His whole life was a mindful engagement with what was, and a deep appreciation for the simple blessings. Tonight, as you settle into a deep and restful sleep, reflect on the concept of enough. Are you constantly chasing something more? Or can you find peace in the present moment's simple sufficiency? Allow yourself to release the need for more, and simply rest in the abundance that is already here, within you and all around you. As you settle deeper into tranquility, let us now discover how wisdom can emerge from the most unexpected places, and the profound simplicity of true understanding. This is the story of the old woman and the peach. There once was a young Zen monk who had spent many years in diligent study and practice. He felt he had mastered many scriptures and understood complex philosophical concepts. He often traveled from monastery to monastery, engaging in debates with other learned monks, and always emerged victorious. One day, he came across a small tea house run by an old woman. She seemed simple and unassuming, but her eyes held a deep, quiet knowing. The monk, feeling confident in his wisdom, decided to test her. He ordered some tea and as she served it, he presented her with a complex question about Zen, a profound paradox that often stumped scholars. The old woman listened patiently. She then placed a ripe, fragrant peach on the table. She picked up the peach, and with a gentle smile, she took a bite. She savored its sweetness, its juiciness, with complete presence. Then, she held out the half-eaten peach to the monk. Her eyes silently asked him, "Taste this." The monk was bewildered. He had expected a verbal answer, a philosophical discourse, not a simple, half-eaten fruit. He hesitated, then looked at the old woman. Her gaze was clear, her smile unwavering. Reluctantly, he took the peach, and slowly, he took a bite. The taste was exquisite, sweet and refreshing. He savored it fully, aware only of the flavor, the texture, the simple reality of the fruit. In that moment, all his complex questions, all his philosophical theories, dissolved. He realized that the true essence of Zen was not in words, or concepts, or intellectual debates, but in the direct, unmediated experience of this very moment. The old woman had offered him not an answer, but an awakening. She taught him that wisdom is not found in accumulation, but in pure, unburdened presence. The story of the old woman and the peach is a profound Zen teaching about the nature of wisdom and the difference between intellectual understanding and direct, embodied experience. It illustrates that true insight often bypasses the conceptual mind and can be found in the simplest, most ordinary moments. When we are fully present, the young monk was full of knowledge, but his cup was too full to taste the peach of reality. He was caught in the finger pointing at the moon, focused on his theories, rather than the direct truth they pointed to. The Buddha taught, "Do not dwell in the past. Do not dream of the future. Concentrate the mind on the present moment." The old woman embodied this teaching. Her wisdom was not in what she said, but in how she was. Her simple act of eating the peach was a living demonstration of mindfulness and pure presence. In our daily lives, we often approach experience with a mind already full. We analyze, we judge, we categorize. We try to fit every moment into our existing framework of understanding. This intellectualizing, while useful in many contexts, can prevent us from truly experiencing life. It can keep us from tasting the peach of the moment, the simple, vibrant reality that is always available. Imagine a beautiful sunset. You can intellectualize it, analyze the light wavelengths, discuss the atmospheric conditions, or you can simply see it, feel its beauty, and allow yourself to be completely present in its majesty. Zen practice constantly calls us to this direct seeing, this pure tasting, this unmediated sensing. It encourages us to let go of our conceptual overlays and encounter reality just as it is, fresh and immediate. This is not about becoming unintelligent, but about recognizing the limits of intellect. It is about realizing that the deepest wisdom, the most profound peace, emerges when the mind is quiet, open, and receptive to the present moment. As the Zen master Linji taught, the true person of no rank is the one who is free from all concepts. To be free from all concepts is to be able to taste the peach without needing to analyze its properties. Tonight, as you settle into a deep, restful sleep, reflect on how much you intellectualize your life, how much you filter reality through your thoughts. Can you allow yourself to simply be with the sensations of your body, the rhythm of your breath, the sounds around you, without judgment or analysis? Rest in the profound simplicity of this very moment and discover the sweet taste of reality, just as it is. As you drift deeper into stillness, let us now consider the nature of true freedom and the surprising wisdom found in letting go of our burdens. This is the story of the two monks and the woman. Two Zen monks, a senior monk named Tanzen and a junior monk named Aikido, were traveling together on a pilgrimage. They came to a river where heavy rains had made the crossing difficult. The water was muddy and swift. At the edge of the river, they saw a beautiful young woman, dressed in elegant silk. She was distressed, unable to cross the swollen river, fearing her fine clothes would be ruined. Without hesitation, Tanzen, the elder monk, stepped forward. He simply picked up the young woman in his arms, carried her across the rushing water, and gently set her down on the other side. He then turned, and the two monks continued on their way. Aikido, the younger monk, was deeply troubled by what he had witnessed. Monks were strictly forbidden from touching women, especially young ones. He felt that Tanzen had gravely violated their monastic vows. He remained silent for the rest of the day, his mind filled with agitation and unspoken criticism. He continued to ponder the incident, replaying it over and over, until late into the evening. As they approached their lodging for the night, finally, Aikido could no longer contain his distress. He turned to Tanzan, his voice strained with frustration. "Brother Tanzan," he exclaimed, "we are monks. We are not supposed to go near females. Why did you carry that woman across the river?" Tanzan stopped and looked at Aikido with calm, compassionate eyes. He smiled softly and replied, "My dear Aikido, I left the woman back there, by the side of the river, hours ago. Are you still carrying her?" Aikido was stunned into silence. His mind cleared. He realized the heavy burden he had been carrying, not of the woman, but of his own unexamined thoughts, his own judgment, for all those hours. And in that moment, he understood the true meaning of letting go. The timeless story of the two monks and the woman is a profound Zen teaching on attachment and the freedom that comes from truly letting go. It powerfully illustrates how we often suffer, not from events themselves, but from our clinging to thoughts, judgments, and expectations about those events. Tanzan acted with pure, unburdened compassion. He saw a need. He addressed it directly. And then he released it completely from his mind. He was truly present in his action, and then present in the next moment. Aikido, however, clung to his rigid ideas of right and wrong, to the rules, and to his judgment of Tanzan. He carried the mental burden of the incident for hours, allowing it to disturb his inner peace. The Buddha taught, "You will not be punished for your anger. You will be punished by your anger." Aikido's suffering was self-inflicted. His mind, by continually replaying and judging the event, created its own prison of agitation. The external situation was over, but his internal suffering continued. In our daily lives, how often do we behave like Aikido? We encounter moments that cause a slight discomfort, a minor annoyance, or a perceived injustice. And then we pick up that moment and carry it with us. We replay conversations. We fantasize about different outcomes. We dwell on what someone said or did, long after the actual event has passed. This clinging to past events, to grievances, to judgments, is the heavy burden that prevents us from experiencing lightness and true peace in the present. Zen practice invites us to cultivate non-clinging awareness, to observe our thoughts and emotions as they arise, without immediately identifying with them, or letting them take root and grow into larger narratives. It is about recognizing the difference between the initial incident and the additional suffering we create by holding on to it. It is about developing the wisdom to see when we are still carrying the burden, long after it should have been set down. The Zen master Linji taught, if you want to attain the way, just have no hindrance, no burden. To have no burden is to be truly free. Like Tanzan, who was unburdened by rules or by the need to judge. He simply acted and then let go. Tonight, as you prepare for deep, restorative sleep, reflect on any women you might still be carrying from your day, any lingering judgments, unresolved thoughts, or grievances you've picked up and held on to. Can you recognize that the moment has long passed, and the burden you feel is one you are choosing to carry? Can you, like Tanzan, gently set it down? Release the mental luggage of yesterday's encounters, allowing your mind to become light and free, ready to journey into the peace of deep sleep. As your body softens and your mind quiets, let us now discover a powerful secret about how we create our own suffering and the freedom found in simple awareness. This is the story of the empty boat. There once was a man who loved to row his boat. On a peaceful river, he found great joy in drifting along the water, enjoying the calm and solitude of nature. Every evening, as the sun was setting and the world was bathed in golden light, he would take his boat out for a quiet journey. On one such evening, as he paddled softly and relished the tranquility, he noticed another boat heading directly toward him. At first, he called out politely, "Be careful," but the boat did not change course. Still, the boat continued on its collision path. Now growing angry, the man began shouting, "Move aside. You are going to crash into me." His peaceful evening was suddenly filled with frustration as he watched the approaching boat. With mounting anxiety, finally, as the two boats collided, he was ready to unleash his anger on the careless boater. But when he looked closely, he realized that the boat was empty. There was no one inside. It was simply drifting, carried by the current. In that moment, the man's anger dissolved instantly. He sat there feeling foolish for yelling at an empty boat. What had changed? Not the situation. The boats had still collided. What changed was his understanding. There was no intention behind the collision, no carelessness or disrespect to fuel his anger. The profound truth of the empty boat story lies in its revelation of how our minds create suffering by attributing intention and narrative where none truly exists. Our anger, frustration, and resentment often arise not from events themselves, but from the stories we automatically construct about the intentions behind those events. The Buddha once said, "You will not be punished for your anger. You will be punished by your anger." This truth becomes brilliantly clear with the empty boat. The collision was a neutral event. The suffering began when the man assumed a careless boater, a disrespectful intention. In Zen Buddhism, this reactivity stems from our ego clinging, our deep-seated attachment to a separate self that must be defended and validated. When someone cuts us off in traffic, our ego might experience it as a personal affront. How dare they disrespect me? The ego constructs a narrative where we are the center, and others are either allies or adversaries. Consider how often throughout your day you encounter empty boats, situations where you attribute harmful intent, where none actually exists. The driver who cuts you off might be rushing to the hospital. The coworker who did not acknowledge your greeting might be preoccupied with a family crisis. The friend who has not responded to your message might be struggling with depression. Yet, our ego mind quickly fills these empty vessels with assumptions of malice, carelessness, or disrespect. In Zen practice, we cultivate awareness of this pattern through mindfulness. By observing our thoughts without immediate identification, we can catch ourselves in the act of filling empty boats. We can notice the physical sensations of anger arising, the tightening chest, the quickening breath, the narrowing vision, and use these as bells of mindfulness, reminding us to pause and investigate. The 13th century Zen master Dogen taught, to study the Buddha way is to study the self, and to study the self is to forget the self. When we forget the self, when we let go of our ego's constant need to assert and defend, we see empty boats for what they truly are. Simply events occurring in the vast river of existence, without personal meaning or intentional slight. Each time we respond with anger, we suffer first and most. By recognizing the empty boats in our daily interactions, we liberate ourselves from this self-inflicted suffering. Tonight, as you reflect on your day, recall a moment when you felt slighted or offended. Can you recognize the empty boat in that situation? Can you see how your own mind filled that empty vessel with assumptions and judgments? And in that recognition, can you feel the freedom that comes from letting go? As the Buddha said, peace comes from within. Do not seek it without. The tranquility we seek is already available to us. When we stop filling empty boats with the stories created by our ego mind, as your awareness deepens and your mind finds further rest, let us now discover the profound wisdom found in embracing vulnerability and transforming our perceived weaknesses. This is the story of the withered tree and the young bud. In a vast garden stood an ancient, withered tree. Its branches were gnarled and mostly bare, and it seemed to carry the weight of many seasons. Next to it, a vibrant young bud had just emerged from the soil. Its leaves were tender, its stem delicate, and it trembled slightly in the gentle breeze. The withered tree observed the young bud, and a deep sigh rustled through its few remaining leaves. Ah, it thought, to be so fresh and full of life, unburdened by years of storms and harsh winters. The young bud, in its fresh innocence, looked up at the massive, old tree. It felt a pang of fear. How could it ever grow so tall and strong? It felt so small and vulnerable. One day, a harsh wind swept through the garden. It whipped at the tender leaves of the young bud, threatening to tear it from its roots. The bud trembled violently. The withered tree, with its gnarled branches, had endured countless such winds. It knew the dance of surrender. Without a thought, it bent its ancient, strong trunk slightly, and its few remaining branches created a gentle shelter, shielding the delicate young bud from the strongest gusts. The wind howled, but the bud, though still trembling, was protected. It held firm to the earth, nestled safely in the shadow of the old tree. When the wind finally subsided, the withered tree straightened slowly. Its old form remained, but a quiet strength emanated from it. The young bud, unharmed, looked up at the old tree with new understanding. It saw not weakness, but a profound, protective power. The old tree, in turn, saw the resilience of new life and felt a quiet joy in its continued purpose. They both had their place, their wisdom, their unique strength. The story of the withered tree and the young bud offers a profound Zen teaching on interconnectedness, the cyclical nature of life, and the unique strength found in every stage of our being. It challenges our tendency to compare ourselves to others or to a past or future version of ourselves, and invites us to embrace our present reality with all its perceived strengths and weaknesses. The withered tree, despite its age and apparent decay, still held deep wisdom and a nurturing capacity. The young bud, though vulnerable, possessed the vibrant energy of new growth. The Buddha taught, the whole secret of existence is to have no fear. Never fear what will become of you. Depend on no one. The only dependence is the experience of the heart, the experience of the soul. This teaching is about releasing the fear of aging, the fear of vulnerability, the fear of not being enough at any given stage of life. It's about recognizing that all phases hold unique value. In our daily lives, we often get caught in comparison. We might envy the energy of youth, while overlooking the wisdom of age. Or we might strive for a future version of ourselves, while neglecting the lessons of our current state. We might feel shame about our vulnerabilities, our withered parts, those areas where we feel less strong, less capable. But like the withered tree, these very aspects, these perceived flaws, can become sources of deep compassion, of protection for others, and of an authentic, grounded presence. And like the young bud, our fresh starts, our moments of newness, hold immense potential, even if they feel fragile. Zen practice cultivates non-dualistic awareness. It teaches us to see beyond the apparent opposites of old and young, strong and weak, to recognize the inherent unity and value in all things and all stages. It is about understanding that we are constantly interdependent, giving and receiving. Just like the tree and the bud, the wisdom of the old supports the new, and the vitality of the new reminds the old of life's endless renewal. As the Zen master Dogen taught, enlightenment is like the moon reflected in water. The moon does not get wet, nor is the water broken. In the same way, our essence remains untouched by the changing forms of our lives, our age, our perceived strengths or weaknesses. Tonight, as you prepare for deep, restorative sleep, reflect on your own journey and all its stages. Are you holding onto any judgments about where you are or who you are? Can you embrace your full self with all your lived experiences, with all your current vulnerabilities and strengths? Allow yourself to rest in the interconnectedness of all things, knowing that your unique being in this very moment is exactly as it needs to be. As you settle even deeper into this peaceful space, let us now consider the boundless compassion of an open heart and the surprising paths to true freedom. This is the story of the master and the thief. There once was a simple Zen master who lived in a small, humble hut. He owned very little, possessing only the bare necessities for his practice. One evening, while meditating peacefully, he heard a noise outside. A thief had come to his hut, hoping to find something of value. The master simply continued his meditation, observing the thief's actions with calm awareness. The thief searched frantically, but found nothing. His frustration grew. The master, seeing the thief about to leave empty-handed, thought to himself, it would be impolite to send him away with nothing. I should give him a gift. So the master took off his simple outer robe, his only possession of any slight worth, and placed it gently by the open door. "Hey," he called out softly to the thief, "you should not go away empty-handed. It is cold tonight, so please take this robe as a gift." The thief was startled and confused. He quickly grabbed the robe and fled into the darkness of the night. The master looked up at the moon, shining brightly in the clear night sky. He sat back down and continued his meditation. He mused aloud, "Poor fellow. I wish I could have given him the moon." Years later, the thief, having been caught for other crimes, was sent to prison. During his time there, the memory of the monk's radical generosity, his pure, unattached kindness, had stayed with him, slowly transforming his heart. Upon his release, He had changed profoundly. He returned to the monk's hut, not as a thief, but as a humble seeker of truth. He realized the monk had given him something far more precious than a robe. He had shown him a glimpse of true freedom, a peace that cannot be stolen. The powerful story of the master and the thief illustrates a profound Zen teaching about non-attachment and the limitless nature of compassion that arises from it. The master's act was not one of fear, nor was it a calculated generosity. It was a spontaneous overflow of a heart, utterly unburdened by clinging to possessions or by the fear of loss. He saw the thief not as an enemy, but as a fellow being in need, and acted from a place of pure, unconditional giving. The Buddha taught, "Give, even if you only have a little." This teaching extends far beyond material possessions. It encourages us to let go of our attachment to outcomes, to our own sense of self-importance, to our ideas of how things should be, and even to our own comfort. In our daily lives, we often cling tightly to things, to our opinions, to our status, to our comfort zones, to our sense of being right. When these things are threatened or taken from us, we experience immense suffering. Like the thief, we are desperate, constantly seeking to acquire, to hold onto, to protect. But the Master shows us another way. He demonstrates that true wealth, true peace, is an inner state. It is found not in what we possess, but in our freedom from the need to possess. His wish to give the thief the moon is a beautiful metaphor for offering inner peace itself, a peace that cannot be physically stolen, a peace that is always available. When we release our grip on external conditions, Zen practice cultivates detachment, not as indifference, but as liberation. It is seeing that nothing external can truly complete us, or truly harm our fundamental peace. By recognizing the impermanent nature of all things, we can hold them lightly, appreciate them when they are present, and let them go without struggle when they depart. This understanding allows us to be generous, not just with what we have, but with our attention, our compassion, our forgiveness, and our very presence. As the Zen master Ikkyu taught, if you are true to yourself, you have nothing to fear. Tonight, as you settle into deep and restful sleep, Reflect on anything you might be clinging to. Perhaps a worry, a grievance, a desire. Can you gently release your grip on these inner and outer possessions? Can you experience the profound freedom that comes from realizing you have nothing to lose? Rest in the boundless peace that resides within you, a peace that no external circumstance, no thief can ever take away. As your awareness expands in this tranquil space, let us now consider the boundless nature of acceptance and the wisdom of meeting life exactly as it is. This is the story of the student and the stone. A young, earnest student came to a Zen master, seeking guidance on how to find peace. "Master," the student asked, "I try so hard to control my thoughts, to achieve inner peace, but my mind is like a wild river. What can I do?" The master listened patiently. He then took the student to a nearby stream, where a large, smooth stone sat at the water's edge. He picked up the stone and placed it firmly in the middle of the flowing water. He then asked the student, "Tell me, does this stone stop the river?" The student watched the water flow around the stone, creating ripples and eddies. "No, master," he replied. "The water simply flows around it. It does not stop the river." The master nodded. He then removed the stone and placed a handful of sand in the water. Now he asked, "Does the sand stop the river?" The student watched the sand disperse and be carried away by the current. "No, master," he said. "The sand is simply absorbed and carried by the river. It does not stop it." The master smiled. He then looked at the student and said gently, "Your mind, my son, is like this river. Your thoughts are like the stones and the sand. You cannot stop the river from flowing. You cannot force your thoughts to cease, but you can learn to let them flow, to allow them to pass through, without clinging to them or fighting against them. When you try to control your mind, it is like trying to stop the river with a small dam. It will only create more turbulence. When you fight your thoughts, it is like trying to grasp at the sand. It will only slip through your fingers. The path to peace is to become like the river itself, allowing all things to flow, without resistance, without judgment. In that moment, the student understood. He ceased his struggle, and a deep calm settled within him. The story of the student and the stone offers a profound Zen teaching about the nature of thought and the liberation found in radical acceptance. We often believe that to find peace, we must stop our thoughts or control our emotions. But this story illustrates the futility of such efforts and guides us to a more gentle and effective path. Our minds are naturally active, constantly generating thoughts, like a river continuously flowing. Trying to stop this flow is exhausting and ultimately impossible, leading only to frustration and suffering. The Buddha taught, "What you think, you become. What you feel, you attract. What you imagine, you create." This teaching reveals that it is not the thoughts themselves that cause suffering, but our attachment to them, our resistance to them, our identification with them. We become the struggle against the flow. In our daily lives, we are constantly engaging in this mental struggle. We worry about future events and try to control outcomes that are beyond our grasp. We replay past conversations, wishing they had gone differently. We fight against uncomfortable emotions, like anxiety or sadness, trying to push them away. But just as the stone does not stop the river, our efforts to control or suppress our thoughts and feelings do not make them disappear. They only create more internal tension, more inner turmoil. Zen practice cultivates non-resistance. It teaches us to observe our thoughts and emotions as they arise and as they pass, without judgment, without clinging, without trying to change them. When a thought arises, we simply notice it, like a leaf floating down the river. We do not jump onto the leaf or try to stop it. We simply watch it float by. When an emotion arises, we allow ourselves to feel it fully, without labeling it as good or bad, without trying to escape it, knowing that all emotions, like waves, eventually crest and dissolve. This practice of non-resistance, of allowing, creates immense spaciousness in the mind. It liberates us from the exhausting battle with ourselves and allows us to rest in our natural state of peace. As the Zen master Huang Po taught, if you want to understand, you must learn to let go, not just of things, but of your very concepts. To let go of the concept that you must control your mind is the first step towards true freedom. Tonight, as you prepare for deep, restorative sleep, reflect on any thoughts or emotions you might be struggling with. Can you allow them to be like the water flowing around the stone? Can you observe them without judgment, without resistance, trusting that they too will simply flow through? Rest in the vast, open space of your awareness, a space that is always peaceful, always clear, beyond the ceaseless flow of thoughts. As our journey through these timeless Zen tales gently concludes, you may feel a profound stillness settling within your being. You have traversed the tranquil waters of wisdom, encountered the silent teachings of acceptance, and embraced the liberating power of letting go. Remember the profound lessons woven into each story. The moon is always shining beyond the pointing finger. The raft serves its purpose, then can be gently laid down. Your true strength, like the bamboo, lies in gentle resilience. The cup of your mind can always be emptied for new peace. Every mundane task holds sacred presence. Your generosity, like the master's, is limitless when unburdened. And your inner river flows, allowing all thoughts to pass through. The Buddha taught, peace comes from within. Do not seek it without. This truth is not a concept to be grasped, but a lived experience, a profound knowing that resides within you, always accessible, always present. You are already the ocean of mind, vast, calm, and boundless. Now, there is nothing more to do, nothing more to seek, nothing more to understand. Simply surrender to the gentle current of this moment. Feel the soft weight of your body, the rhythmic rise and fall of your breath. Allow all remaining thoughts to drift away, like distant clouds in an endless sky. Let go of every concern, every expectation, every last bit of tension. You are safe. You are at peace. You are deeply loved. Drift now into the profound depths of restorative sleep. May your dreams be filled with peace, and your awakening be refreshed and renewed.